Next on Wildlife Emergency, doctors try to pinpoint the source of an owl's mysterious injury.
We'd never seen anything like this before. It's very unusual for a bird to have a large swelling like this.
A rehabilitator fights to save the life of an orphaned baby raccoon.
I need to be able to get enough food into his system so he will have a chance to live.
And Dr. Ned sends a recovered patient home.
His function is really good. They're just living dinosaurs with a lot of personality.
Take him on into radiology.
We've got a problem here.
Right.
We have the opportunity to give these animals a second chance.
But he's a little one.
He's a very small one.
Nice, strong heartbeat.
He's very handsome. Wildlife, humans are a big part of the problem, and I just want to try to be part of the solution.
Turn it up a lot more.
You not only need to read the mind of your coworkers, you need to read the mind of your patient. About 5 minutes to go before we hit 3 hours.
To save a wild animal's life and get it back into the wild, that's what it's all about.
At the Wildlife Center of Virginia, the most serious cases are often the most mysterious.
What I'm going to try doing is just kind of some blunt dissection into there.
As Dr. Tracy examines this barred owl, knowing only that it cannot fly, she attempts to locate the hidden source of its problem.
And see what we end up with.
Though in trouble, the barred owl cannot tell her what's wrong.
There really wasn't a lot of history on the bird. Usually we get raptors because people notice that they're out in a field or by the side of the road. They're in a place where they shouldn't be, and when somebody approaches the bird, it doesn't take off and fly away like they should.
This owl was spotted in the woods behind the home of rescuer Cletus Bain.
I could hear real bad fluttering in the trees, the leaves, like he couldn't hold his balance or something. And then it kind of lifted itself off, and it was awkwardly flying. He didn't act the way an owl would act. It would have had to have been desperate. And as I approached it, I was wearing a hat, and I went to pick it up, and it raised its talons, and I just covered the talons and then picked him up from behind and brought him close.
Cletus took the bird to a nearby veterinary facility where it was seen by Dr. Johnny Clark.
On the physical exam, the only finding that appeared to be significant was on the inside of one of the wings, as if it were our elbow. There was a soft swelling, approximately 1.5 inches long by 1/2 inch raised.
Okay, Missy.
Dr. Clark's usual clientele took this case outside his specialty.
He was here for 5 days, and then when we were able to coordinate the proper transportation, he went down to the Wildlife Center.
Now at the center, preparations for exploratory surgery commence to establish the cause of the strange swelling.
The barred owl was quite a mystery because we'd never seen anything like this before. It's very unusual for a bird to have a large swelling like this. It wasn't a typical presentation of being hit by a car or attacked by a cat or dog or the other common things that we see.
Veterinary technician Sarah and vet student John continue to isolate the surgical site.
I'll let you do the plucking. No, he's asleep enough that you don't have to hold his feet. I just want to make this area clean so that I'm hoping she won't have to really open up the joint capsule, but she's going to have to make at least an inch-long incision because there's a chunk in there that's about 1 inch.
The hope is that surgery will restore a crucial capability.
Since it affected the elbow, which is one of the joints on the wing, the bird was unable to fly. And if a bird can't fly, then it can't make its living. It can't survive out in the wild.
We're going to be ready real soon here, Tracy.
Here, the scrubbing process, just as for a human operation, must be thorough.
You need to maintain sterility as much as possible. You don't want to cause any problems during your surgery with an infection.
As the fully anesthetized bird is brought to the operating table, Dr. Tracy is now ready to confront the unknown.
We took x-rays and there wasn't any bone fractures or dislocations. It was definitely a soft tissue problem, and the only way to get an answer would be to go in there and explore, see what was in there, find out if there was some type of foreign body or some other thing going on that would account for the swelling. But you know, to have the skin stretch like this instead of just rupturing is really strange in birds. You just don't see that in birds.
No, you don't. That's what's got me floored. I mean, there's something in there that feels like bird pus.
Yeah.
What surgery reveals may bring Dr. Tracy closer to an answer and a cure for this disabled barred owl. In the examination room, several new patients must be treated.
These are the raccoons?
Yes, sir. They were up at the church entrance, and the church secretary called me to see if I'd come get them.
Estimated to be 3 weeks old, the raccoons are alarmingly underweight.
Well, these baby raccoons had been abandoned by their mother inside this church for several days. They had nothing to eat, nothing to drink. We knew they needed to have some medical care provided pretty fast. These animals would have starved to death without their mother or without us to help them.
One of the three, marked in blue, puts up a struggle.
In particular, the smallest, probably the run of the litter, is the skinniest, and he's in the most precarious medical condition of the three. We're going to give them some fluids underneath their skin that they'll absorb then. That'll make them feel better.
The staff must work as quickly as possible because the raccoon's need is so critical.
He's just chewing on the glove. My finger's not at the end.
Once stabilized, the raccoon rests in Tracy's hands.
He's using the glove as a pacifier.
I think so. That's what it feels like.
Oh,
It's okay, little one.
he's calmed down.
A few hours later, the raccoons are transferred to the home of rehabilitator Colleen Ballard. She will take on their care over the next few months.
Hi. Oh, you're skinny.
As a specialist in raccoon rehabilitation, Colleen is particularly able to assess the siblings.
He's probably about half the size that he really should be at this age.
By all indications, it is clear to Colleen that these raccoons have suffered since being on their own.
Here we go. I thought that they looked really weak. They weren't as active or as vocal as I thought they should be. They've lost so much weight, and according to the person that brought them into the wildlife center, they were wandering around, which is, you know, not normal raccoon behavior for babies this young. I'm going to put them in with a little food and see if they want to eat something. If not, which I'm pretty sure they're not going to eat, I'm going to have to hand feed them.
As Colleen settles the three raccoons into their new home, she knows that they are in danger. If not quickly able to acclimate and begin taking food, they will not survive. In the holding room at the center, Dr. Ned examines recovering patient number 98043.
This box turtle was hit by a car and it was badly damaged, the shell, so you could actually look inside the shell and see the soft parts. And so this animal was prone to dehydration, to infection, and the shell had to be repaired. If we set him down on the ground, we can see that his function is really good. The turtle is moving its legs normally, it's holding its head up, it's looking around, it's alert. There's no sign of spinal injury, which is always a concern in a shell injury because a turtle's spine and ribs are attached to the back of the shell. When a shell gets damaged, so can the spine.
For Dr. Ned, there is no finer animal than the turtle.
Detroit changes the design of their car models every couple, 3 years. The turtles haven't had the need to do that. They've been doing the right thing for them for longer than people have been on this planet. They're just living dinosaurs.
The prognosis for this box turtle is excellent.
Because we were successful in repairing this turtle shell and making it as good as it was before it met up with the car, it should be able to be released back to the wild again.
Wildlife rehabilitator Colleen prepares to hand feed the orphan baby raccoons, who are in critical condition.
These guys were so bad off that immediately I started them on a very dilute milk formula because they just needed the food in their system immediately.
Though rarely seen in babies, raccoons can carry diseases that can be fatal to humans. So Colleen wears protective clothing as a precaution.
Here you go. Oh, that's a good baby.
Her first concern is to nourish the smallest raccoon, who is most at risk.
The very first raccoon that I started to feed was very, very distrustful of me. And because he was distrustful of me, he was unwilling to eat. And I think he was also the weakest of the 3 raccoons. And because he was so weak, his body also was telling him, oh, you don't need to eat, you just need to go back to sleep. His body is actually trying to die now. So I need to be able to get enough food into his system so his body will kick back into action and he will have a chance to live. Well, that was only an ounce. One little more? Yeah, a little more.
He remains lethargic, and Colleen fears for the worst.
I'm extremely concerned about this. This is a very dangerous situation. A raccoon is not an easy animal to force feed because they're very agile and he can just spit out what I put into his mouth. So I have to find some way to convince him that I'm not going to hurt him and that he really likes this milk and he wants to eat. It's not going to be easy. Oh, sweetie. Okay. What are we going to do?
Since the raccoon continues to refuse to eat, Colleen focuses her energy instead on calming the frightened animal and winning his trust.
Little purrs, little purrs. I love each and every animal that comes into my care as though he was the only one and the most precious animal in the entire world. Because at the moment when I have him in my hand and I'm taking care of him and I know that he's totally dependent on me for everything, for his life, he is precious to me. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Though the other siblings are willing to take food, Colleen's assessment of the family's prospect is mixed.
I'm expecting 2 raccoons. Almost 100% will make it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the 3rd raccoon.
Beginning exploratory surgery on the barred owl, Dr. Tracy lances the mysterious swelling.
Serosanguinous fluid coming out, or just blood-tinged fluid. There's big chunks in here, too. There's a lot of soft tissue damage in this barred owl's elbow, and so it was difficult to tell what was joint capsule and what wasn't.
The growth is swabbed, and all abnormal tissue is gathered for further laboratory analysis.
Since this case was so unusual, we were pretty much culturing everything that we could in the hopes of determining if there was a bacteria that was present that was causing the problem.
Unfortunately, the exploratory surgery has not yielded an immediate answer, and a frustrated Dr. Tracy now sutures the swelling.
We did not find a foreign body in there. We didn't find any obvious wounds, even old wounds. So we're still in the dark as to what caused this original injury. All right, his bandage is on, so if you want to go ahead and turn the isoflurane off, just put him on oxygen for a couple minutes, we can wake him up.
Dr. Tracy hopes that the samples collected will now be successfully analyzed for answers. As this drowsy bird awakens, only time will tell if it will rouse to fly again. It's bathing time for the box turtle, who has been successfully treated for his injury, and for some of the other turtle patients in the hospital.
Okay, Dr. Ned's House of Turtles. Some of these are new turtles, some of these are old turtles.
Veterinary students John and Holly participate as Dr. Ned continues to explore the results of his turtle shell surgery.
He came in very late in November, and he got hit by a car, and by the time we got him fixed, the ground was frozen. So we had to keep him over the winter. Can you tell if this is a boy box turtle or a girl?
It's a boy.
How can you tell?
from this indentation here.
Right, concavity in the plastron. So that if he had a date, he fits better. That means he's a boy. He is a big, mature box turtle. I like to work on the most animals that I can lay my hands on. So if I can extend my repertoire to turtles and frogs and snakes, then I'm so much the happier. Now this little guy is a really interesting case.
Patient number 1867 received extensive treatment for his injuries.
He was hit by a car. You can see where he was cracked here. And he was also cracked at his hinge here. It didn't break any bones, but he can't open the bottom half of his shell as well as he should. So it's hard for him to get his legs out. I trimmed his shell a little bit to give him extra room to get those legs out, and it works better, but it doesn't work as well as it should. My initial idea was to put a block in here. If I figured out a way to do it that I didn't block his vent, to keep that open like that. So I'm not sure if he's ever going to be releasable or not.
I'll take him. I will. If you put him while I'm here, in the next week and a half, I'll take him back.
It'd be hard to imagine a better adoptive parent for a turtle like this than a vet student, but I'd need updates.
Okay, that's a deal.
Good?
Good.
While the baby turtle is going with Holly, the other patients will be released to the wild.
He needs to be released. 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 Great. So 4 out of 5 of these turtles are ready to go back into their habitat. This guy's really ready to go. He said, let me out of here.
The box turtle is among these recovered patients, and tomorrow will be taken back to his home. Days have passed since the barred owl's surgery to determine the mysterious cause of its swelling. During its convalescence, the bird seems to have improved as it challenges veterinary student John, who brings it inside for an important exam.
All right, we'll see what this looks like when we get the bandage off.
Here, Dr. Tracy examines her patient.
We got the final culture report this morning. They faxed it to us, and they didn't grow anything, either aerobic or anaerobic, which is rather surprising to me. I was expecting something.
Unfortunately, no laboratory explanation is offered. No bacterial source for the inflammation can be pinpointed. And while the original swelling is healing well, there is now bad news. A new swelling seems to have appeared.
It's fairly firm. It's a little bit fluctuant, but I don't remember it being there yesterday.
No.
Because that could mean problems. Oh, there I'm in.
Closer examination confirms that there is definitely additional swelling. But without a reason, a cause, there can be no cure.
We continued to reculture it, hoping to find some sort of bacteria, but that just didn't work. Not everything is cut and dried or known for sure in veterinary medicine.
Then, more bad news. New x-rays revealed that beneath the swelling, there is serious, irreversible elbow deterioration. Clearly now, this bird will never fly again. And at this point, as the bird's physician, Dr. Tracy must face a very difficult choice.
The main things we have to consider are whether the bird is going to be releasable or not, and obviously this bird wasn't going to be because he wasn't flighted. Then whether they can be placed in some sort of nature center or exhibit, and barred owls are fairly common, so pretty much every place that wants one has one, and that really doesn't leave us with any choices.
The decision is made. The bird, which cannot be cured of the unknown disease, must be put to sleep. For Dr. Tracy, it's a sad end to a very long journey.
Looking back, you always wonder, should I have tried this? But it's an unfortunate aspect of veterinary medicine, and you have to deal with it.
Today, Dr. Ned will personally handle the release of patient number 98043, the box turtle. Struck by a car on this road, the turtle is being brought back to his habitat, but far enough from the site of his accident to be out of danger.
Good habitat for turtles. Okay, bub.
And now, the moment for release has arrived. But after Dr. Ned opens up the cage door, the turtle is reluctant. So Dr. Ned tries some coaxing.
Here you go. This is where you came from. Look familiar?
And now it's off to the races.
Be free.
Well, not yet.
The great thing about turtles is you can't make them do what they don't want to do. I like that in an animal.
As the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water.
Well, reptiles do everything slow. They get sick slow, they get better slow, and when you release them, they release slow.
Now, Dr. Ned tries again.
Come on, you got it.
And finally, we have ignition.
All right, keep on going. You got the hang of it now.
As he prepares to say goodbye, Dr. Ned considers all of the dangers that will confront his little patient.
Turtle shells have protected turtles for millions of years, and it's getting harder and harder in modern times for a turtle shell to protect it against cars and semi-trucks and forklifts and curious suburban kids who've moved into what used to be the turtles' neighborhood. But my money's that the turtles might just outlive all of us.
Then, one last word of goodbye to an animal who's finally home.
Party on, dude.
In the morning, rehabilitator Colleen arrives with her 3 orphaned baby raccoons to be seen by rehabilitation manager Amanda for a checkup and weigh-in.
Pinkhead's actually the most mellow of everybody.
First up is Pinkhead. The weighing confirms Colleen's assessment.
No, generally Pinkhead is doing the best of everybody. He's eating well, his poop looks okay, and his disposition is the best.
Great.
But then Bluehead, the little raccoon who had refused to eat and who Colleen feared wouldn't make it, must be weighed.
Well, there goes another glove.
I think he'll have the towel with him.
That's great.
So now, how much does Bluehead actually weigh?
Bluehead is 1.11 kgs.
That's his actual weight.
Yes.
Yahoo! Well, I'm happy to say the raccoons are doing well. Bluehead, who I was the most concerned about, is actually doing the best of everyone. And he's aggressive and feeling good about himself, I think. All right, you guys. Time to go outside.
Back at home, Colleen prepares to transfer the raccoons to a larger pen outdoors, a step she now feels certain they can make.
The raccoons have gained enough weight, and they're acting feisty and wild enough. They're not sleeping all the time anymore. So it was definitely time for them to move from indoors to outdoors and start acclimatizing to weather and becoming real raccoons instead of just babies.
For Bluehead particularly, who spent weeks in critical condition, this change is an important one.
A raccoon needs to be able to get out from an enclosed, climate-controlled environment. He needs to start seeing nature, hearing birds walk around, maybe seeing bugs fly around, catch a few maybe, and it's absolutely important to their development. After this stage, basically what they're doing is they're plumping up and growing fatter so that they can't pass through the larger openings in a bigger cage that I have for them.
As the weeks go by, the raccoons have continued to thrive and develop. And now, having grown even more, an even bigger cage is provided. Watching them play and explore, Colleen finds it hard to believe that these same raccoons once clung tenuously to life.
I feel really good about being able to help them along. It was a half and half effort. They had the will to live, and I was there in the right place at the right time, able to help them.
Now, all these raccoons want is to be wild and free. They still have some growing up to do, but one thing is clear. When the moment arrives, they'll be ready.